Keeping this inward feeling, listen to these words from Swamiji. The subject this week is on forgiveness. Forgiveness is the sword of victory. When we forgive those who seek to hurt us, we rob them of their very power to do us harm. Better still, if they respond with love, they will unite their strength to ours, and so our strength becomes doubled. But forgiveness should not be given primarily for its effect on others, but rather for the freedom it affirms in our own hearts. Let no outward circumstance condition your inner freedom, your inner happiness. Be not pleased merely when man is pleased. Be pleased rather when you feel God's pleasure in your heart. Please affirm with me, all that befalls me is for my good.
All that befalls me is for my good.
I welcome any hurts that I receive.
I welcome any hurts I receive
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
All that befalls me is for my good.
All that befalls me is for my good.
I welcome any hurts that I receive.
I welcome any hurts that I receive
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
A little more quietly with deep concentration. All that befalls me is for my good.
All that befalls me is for my good.
I welcome any hurts that I receive.
I welcome any hurts that I receive
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
Now in a whisper, all that befalls me is for my good.
All that befalls me is for my good.
I welcome any hurts that I receive.
I welcome any hurts that I receive
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
as opportunities to grow in understanding.
And now silently, at the spiritual eye, with deep concentration, all that befalls me is for my good. I welcome any hurts that I receive as opportunities to grow in understanding. All that befalls me is for my good. I welcome any hurts that I receive as opportunities to grow in understanding. And please pray silently with me, Lord, how often the hurts that I've sustained in life have grieved me. Strengthen my power of love, that I surrender all things to Thee, my eternal friend. Om.
And welcome to everyone that is here, and also for those that are joining us online. This is a reading from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Ananda, entitled, Make us transparent, that thy light may shine through us unimpeded. The sunbeams of thy love shine equally on all members of thy cosmic family, whether prophet, hero, villain, tiny moth, or me. It is our own fault if we make ourselves opaque by our own mental and emotional dullness. Teach us to wipe away the dirt of air from the windows of our understanding. Our arms are weak for the task, owing to our long inner spiritual resistance. O Master Cleanser, lend power to our efforts, that we may wipe away every last spot that clings to our minds, obscuring our transparency and preventing free entry to thy light. Oh, make us fully clean again, invisible in our egos, because transmitting only visions of thy beauty, which lies within us. And from the autobiography of Yogi, this is drawn from the chapter Years in My Master's Hermitage. And Master begins describing that when he was just a few months there in the Hermitage with Sri Yukteswar said to him, Mukunda, who he called him, that was his childhood name at the time, you're very thin. And Yogananda was very well aware of that, because since his childhood, he had been suffering from various stomach disorders, and he had become very thin. He had many medicines there in the cabinet, but they weren't seeming to do what they needed to do. And he, again, was feeling, as described in the autobiography, was life even worth living with a body so unsound? And so the reading continues. This is Sri Yukteswar. Years ago, I too was anxious to put on weight, Sri Yukteswar told me. During convalescence after a severe illness, I visited Lahiri Mahashaya in Benares. Sir, I've been very sick and lost many pounds. I see, Yukteswar. You made yourself unwell, and now you think you are thin. This reply was far from the one I had expected. My guru, however, added encouragingly, let me see. I am sure you ought to feel better tomorrow. Taking his words as a gesture of secret healing toward my receptive mind, I was not surprised the next morning at a welcoming accession of strength. I sought out my master and exclaimed exultingly, Sir, I feel much better today. Indeed. Today, you invigorate yourself. No, master, I protested. It was you who helped me. This is the first time in weeks that I have had any energy. Oh, yes, your malady has been quite serious. Your body is frail yet. Who can say how it will be tomorrow? The thought of possible return of my weakness brought me a shudder of cold fear. The following morning, I could hardly drag myself to Lahiri Mahashaya's home. Sir, I am ailing again. My guru's glance was quizzical. So, once more you indispose yourself. Guru Deva, I realize now that day by day you've been ridiculing me. My patience was exhausted. I don't understand why you disbelieve my truthful reports. Really, it has been your thoughts that have made you feel alternately weak and strong. My master looked at me affectionately. You have seen how your health has exactly followed your expectations. Thought is a force, even as electricity or gravitation. The human mind is a spark of the almighty consciousness of God. I could show you that whatever your powerful mind believes very intently would instantly come to pass. Knowing that Lahiri Mahashaya never spoke idly, I addressed him with great awe and gratitude. Master, if I think I am well and have regained my former weight, shall that happen? It is so. Even at this moment, my guru spoke gravely, his gaze concentrated on my eyes. Lo, I felt an increase not alone of strength, but of weight. Lahiri Mahashaya retreated into silence. After a few hours at his feet, I returned to my mother's home, where I stayed during my visit to Benares. My son, what is the matter? Are you swelling with dropsy? Mother could hardly believe her eyes. My body was now of the same robust dimensions it had possessed before my illness. I weighed myself and found that in one day I had gained 50 pounds. They remained with me permanently. Friends and acquaintances who had seen my thin figure were aghast with wonderment. A number of them changed their mode of life and became disciples of Lahiri Mahashaya as a result of this miracle. My guru, awakened God, knew this world to be nothing but an objectified dream of the Creator. And it was a blessing too for Yogananda that he again was robust in health after again spending time in his guru's presence. And after a few weeks, he was strong. He never had those stomach ailments again. The mind, as we know, is very strong. When I first got on the path as a young man, I didn't know what to think about a disciplined mind is a happy mind. I appreciated thought, but I had no idea where to start because my mind was spinning with so many thoughts. Again, all these things were so new for me, everything. And so I thought, well, I'd love to have a quiet mind. It seems like that's the goal. Be still and know that I am God. Where motion ceases, there God begins. These teachings that I was reading, of course, I was very inspired by. But this racing mind, what was I going to do? Well, Luckily, from Yainamata Yogananda's most advanced woman disciple, she said, count your blessings, skip the rest. Yogananda added, if you do 10% of what I ask you, you'll get there. So with these encouraging thoughts, I decided to take the bold move and just put this issue, my swirling mind, to the side. And I thought, well, where's my interest lie? What do I enjoy doing? And I thought, well, I love to serve and I love to meditate. And I said, well, then good, start there. And you can work on this other issue at a later date. It's not that I won't come back to it. It is a bit urgent. But for now, concentrate, because the law of magnetism is such that if we could work on just one thing, it's why Swami Kriyananda is always saying to us, no matter where we are, particularly if we are in a disheartened state, do one thing. Get off the couch. Do one thing, go have an ice cream. Do one thing that will give us some enthusiasm. And then from there, that vortex of energy and magnetism will then begin to draw those other things that are needed. I love the story. This was from Swami Kriyananda, where they're at the monastery back in the late 40s, early 50s. One of the monks had written down on his door, they all had their own private quarters, all the things he was going to do minute by minute the next few days. And so, at 6 o'clock I will wake up, and at 6:15, I'll be energizing at 6:30. And, the different monks passed by the door and smiled, because he was like, well, for starters, why do you need to post this? And secondly, good luck, because it was so ambitious. This was a new monk. And he was going to be able to keep up with this. As Master said, who in that period of his life, in the 20s and 30s, he was serving 19 hours a day. And he said, don't try to keep up with me, you'll burn up. Because he was a master. And everyone else then was aspiring, of course, toward that exalted state, but they had to be real with where their energy was at. So what I found, much to my joy, that after, I don't know, it might have been a year, I was able to take the baby steps, knocked on the door of my mind, and says, excuse me, but I'd like to kind of tackle a relationship with you, with all of these thoughts and so forth. Let me get started. And I thought, well, where do I start? I thought, well, sense of humor, that might help, this crazy situation. Patience is a shortcut to finding God, that will help. Various things, through the course of that first year, drawing from the teachings of Master and Swami, I thought of a few things that would give me the courage, because it was going to take that. It was like skeletons in the closet. It was going to take courage and daring to begin to tackle something that I felt was like Godzilla, that if I even approached for a moment the thought of beginning to work with my swirling thoughts, I would be crushed. And so it did take that year to build up. You don't go into the gym and say, I'd like to start lifting a couple 100 kilos. The trainer says, I don't think that's a good idea. You've come in, fairly healthy. You're not going to leave this gym if you start that. Let's start with a dozen kilos. Well, that's not that much. Well, let's start with that. And we have the faith in the trainer that they know what they're doing. And bit by bit, we appreciate that they do indeed know how to help us condition our bodies. And so the guru, knowing our karma at a glance, they're not fooled for a moment by where we are. They see the perfection that's there because they see the soul, but they also see the dream, which is this human condition, and they begin to work with that. In addition, I read, and I felt it was true in those early years, as Gyanamata pointed out, that it's really hand-to-hand combat with the newly awakened disciple and the guru. And I thought, why? Why would that be? Why would she say that? She was a saint. Why would she say that? But I had to acknowledge it was true, because, I found that I was upset that he had already awakened from the dream and I was still dreaming. No fair. And yet I thought, well, he worked for that gift, the gift of wakefulness, and that's something that I need to do, and something we all need to do. So face the facts and be a good sport, as we were taught when we were younger. Be a good sport. This is going to take some time. The next moment we could be free, we don't know. It may be toward the end of life. It could be in the incarnations to come. The main thing is to know that what's awaiting us is the grand prize of prizes, which is bliss for eternity. So don't you think a little bit of effort on our part is worth that? And as Swamiji's has shared, and I recirculate this in my mind from time to time, I find it so helpful. He says, no saint comes back saying, what a scam. None come back. They're in bliss. Why would they think that? Why would they say that? Because they have finally, through tremendous effort, self-effort draws grace, they have finally awakened from the dream, and a select few of the masters come back out of a compassion that we can't fathom, coming back into this world, and bit by bit, knowing that it's a bit of a challenge, that we, if we continue to put one step in front of the other, will heal ourselves. Well, it's very important to appreciate the relationship between the heart and the mind. For instance, if we're just here, and I found this and continue to quite a stirring thought, if we're just here all the time, and this is emphasized, of course, the spiritual eye, what we have here on the altar, if we're just here, then we can become ruthless. And I was stunned by that thought until reading on, I realized that the teachings, of course, the masters knew what they were talking about. This has to be coupled with heart quality. You put the two together, the growing unconditional love of the heart and the point between the eyebrows, the will center. What do you have? You have joy. And when you have that joy, then nothing can touch you. It doesn't matter what our state is, high, low, or in between. It doesn't matter because we have understood the importance of that joy, of spending time in these upper centers and beginning that relationship. And so in tackling my mind, as I do to this day, obviously, big project, then to remember, just keep that love of the heart flowing, so important, so that the mind can be washed and cleansed, as we read in Whispers, so that our mind can become pure, and that we're no longer being pushed back and forth. So many times, I would imagine this would be everyone's experience, we're having a wonderful meditation, and we're so grateful for that. And we feel like we're being healed, and we feel like we're being replenished, because we are. And all of a sudden, it's, what's for dinner? That's a sacrilege. Where did that come from? You know? But then we think, and to comfort ourselves, thoughts are universally, they're not individually rooted. Okay, somehow the channel, I don't know what happened, the channel got messed up, and now what's for dinner? And that becomes something we're very interested in. And then, God willing, being in the watchful state, being the jnani, we say, well, we'll entertain that thought at a later date. This peace, I don't want to chase it away. And yet, if we venture down that lane, the next thing we know, these thoughts have companion thoughts. Yeah, what's for dinner? And then, by the way, what's for dessert? And then how about the midnight snack? Because the ice cream's in the freezer, and we've been using a lot of willpower not to go into the freezer, and so forth, and on it goes. And then the peace of mind is gone. Is it gone forever? Of course not. We had to learn that harsh lesson, that when this grace comes like a beam of light piercing through the clouds, that is God and Guru visiting. And of course, they're always visiting. But it becomes very dynamic to our consciousness, because there is that love, that joy, that peace, those spiritual qualities that the soul resonates with. And so, bit by these harsh experiences, there's no obstacles, only opportunities. By these harsh experiences, and meditation, whatever it might be, we begin to be more vigilant. Swami Kriyananda had a very interesting experience. He came in as an intellectual, as a young man prior to finding Yogananda, and he said, I could best anyone in debate. And he said, I knew I wasn't stupid. And with this, brilliant mind, there he was, thinking, that he was something special. And yet, he felt inside something really lacking. And he began to acknowledge in time that he had a desperate need for peace of mind, a desperate need to be happy, a desperate need to find God, if there even was a God. He didn't even know at that point. Then he came upon the autobiography of a yogi, met Yogananda. He became a disciple. And yet he was still riddled with doubt. And Yogananda himself said, in the past, you were completely crucified by doubt, and that was carried over to some extent. He said even at that point in the early years of discipleship, if Yogananda would say, I think he would say, it's sunny in Los Angeles. Perhaps they were in the desert. He would say, well, I'm not so sure about that. And it would torture him. So at one point, he got so exasperated by his intellectuality and all of these various things were plaguing him with an enormous force of will. And he was, of course, a man of great will. He, in a meditation, with all of his power, thrust out this thought of being wedded to this intellectual aspect. And he found himself to be free. And he went up to Yogananda, who was there at Mount Washington at the tennis courts, and knelt for a blessing. And Yogananda patted him on the head and said, very good. And yet, Swami Kriyananda said, though that experience was very profound, I still had to be vigilant like a hawk. Because these blessings come, are they permanent blessings, or is it still a work in progress? And that's where love for God comes in. That we love God, and all these other things, again, being a work in progress and so forth, we are able to put these things to the side and to trust that we have, as Yogananda said, it takes very, very, very good karma even to want to know God. So that every time we make any effort picking up, a spiritual scripture, listening to some spiritual music, anything and everything that lifts our consciousness, we say, thank you. We appreciate that. Thanksgiving is coming up, big holiday in America that Yogananda always celebrated and so forth, to remind us that that's very, very important, that even a little bit, of this religion will free us from dire fears and colossal sufferings, it says in the Gita. And so bit by bit, we're able to tackle these enormous issues that we have. And we all have come in with karma, whatever it might be. And we put our hand in the hand of the Guru, and we say, please, I can't handle this particular challenge now without you, but it's time. I've been working up to that. I didn't come into the gym and start lifting 200 kilos. I've been working up to taking on this challenge. And the miracle of this, when it comes time, of course, meanwhile, doing all kinds of things to lift our consciousness. But if there comes a time where karmically we want to really tackle, maybe it's to go deep in meditation. As Yogananda counseled, you want to speed along on the spiritual path, make every meditation deeper than the last, a very tall order. So whatever it might be, bit by bit, we begin to work up toward whatever this thing might be. We've all come into this plane with karma to be worked out. Some are small little things, some are a little bit bigger, but as we grow in trust and love for God and Guru, we find that there are those times when now it's time to do this, and now it's time to do that. Let's work on this. But by doing it, we also make sure that we're strong. We have a level of maturity. We have a level of balance. We have a level of integration. Until then, we continue. We're not nibbling at these other things, but we're working away. Swami Kriyananda, when he first arrived, didn't, with the power of his will, thrust out this thought of intellectuality. He worked up to that. But then when it was time, he had a tremendous result. And so really it's a matter of being kind to ourselves, not to mention being kind to one another, loving ourselves, loving one another. And in that way, the fruit of meditation's growing intuition, we're able to tackle these various things in a way that it's no longer hand-to-hand combat with the newly awakened disciple and the Guru. We are so grateful that the Guru has come into our lives, the greatest gift that one can have in this world, knowing that they are, as I like to call them, the divine Sherpa. They know everything about this experience, and they know us intimately. Why? Because they are us, because they're blissfully omnipresent. And so bit by bit, we're able to turn over our lives to them. It takes time, of course. And we begin to entertain the incredible thought that we are not only free, but we'll awaken to that freedom. Jaya and I, years ago, we got together, and this was good fun. And we said, in the beginning, it was cosmic consciousness. That was the thought, cosmic consciousness. Now we're just trying to work on some good thoughts. And so we had a hearty laugh over that, because I remember reading in Yogananda's, the master said, sayings of Yogananda, that Rajarsi Janakananda was freed in 5 years. A liberated soul in 5 years, fully liberated. And I thought, I can probably do 5 years. I was so new. I thought, okay, I think I can embrace discipline for that length of time. The 5 years passed, and I was still kind of, let's see, wait a minute. I wonder if he came in with a little bit more, magnetism. Of course, that was obvious, absolutely obvious. But it was good, a humbling experience after that 5th year mark. And I don't think from the beginning I really took it all that seriously, but being so new and, pie in the sky, all of those kinds of things, that was the thought in the very early beginnings. And yet at the same time, it was a true thought in that is our destiny, to be free. And we're free right now. We're just working on the loose end, and consider it just as that, because that is all that it is. For children of God, the loose end is we are free, but we have to kind of earn that state. And that's the reason we all come together, to continually encourage one another. As I say, when we get together, we heal each other at a glance. We see the sparkling eyes, the window of the soul of these devotees and spiritual aspirants that have been working incarnations on growing spiritually. And we find ourselves encouraged to continue on the great task that we've been given, the only task, the only purpose of life, which is, of course, to find God and to share God. So, God bless you all. As always, it's a joy to spend time with you, and of course, those of you that are online. And now we'll have our arati and blessing.
I'm going to say 2 words.
Okay, well, then go for it. Okay, good.
Many of you know that Swami Kriyananda was a composer of music, and he's wrote in his lifetime over 400, 500 songs, instrumental spiritual music. And not now. Yeah. And so anyway, I forgot what I was going to say, so that's okay. So anyway, Swami wrote this music, and you all know about this music. Some of you don't. And what Haridas was saying was that it's good to have that goal of freedom in this lifetime, but we also have very many helps along the way, very many aids. And one of the most important aids, Yogananda said, is the aid of spiritual music. And if you listen to spiritual music after you meditate and during the day and before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, it seeps into your consciousness. It's a very wonderful spiritual tool. So it's not just that we're trying to push Swami's music, it's a very important essence of the spiritual path, because all sound and all music, all vibration leads back to Om. And this is what this music does for us. It leads us back to Om. And when you hear Om, and when you're in Om, nothing can harm you. You're so secure, you're so safe, you just feel so protected. So this music, Swamiji wrote this song. This is a particular song, and he said that this was one of his favorite songs, one of the most favorite songs. And the situation under which he wrote this song was that he had been having a very difficult time with somebody, very difficult time. And mind you, Swami was about 50. He had built Ananda. He had all of this grace to serve as guru his whole life. And so there's this one man that was he did not like Swamiji. And every single time Swamiji would present something or do something or write something or say anything, this man would criticize him and say, why didn't you say this? Why didn't you do it this way? This isn't right. You're not telling the truth. Blah, blah, blah. All just coming at him. So there was this one particular time where this man came to Swamiji and he just laid it on the line, and he just really just spewed negativity at Swami, telling him how wrong he was, and it was just really a sort of a devastating experience for Swami. And he remained quiet and calm, and he just accepted it and took it as a lesson from God. But then when he left, he wrote this song. And this song is called I Live Without Fear. And it's so beautiful. And this was Swamiji's response to all of that negativity. This was his way of saying, I accept this. This is from you, God. But this is what I'm going to share with you from my heart, because all I really want is you in this life. I don't care about all the rest of it. And so we're going to listen to the song, and it's called I Live Without Fear. And the words are easy.
The green summer fade and winter draw near. My Lord, in your presence I live without fear. Through tempest, through snows, through turbulent time, the touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will dance, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend. The green summer fade.
So the end result of this man coming to Swamiji, and there's a picture of him in the path where there was this gathering, and this man came up to Swamiji, and Swamiji was just calm. And Swami just looked him in the eyes and said, you know, I'll always love you. And the look on his face, the man's face was transformed. It was beautiful. It was like, just by loving, just by forgiving, just by being in the moment, just by being more powerful in love, you can transform yourself and other people. So this was the result of that song. So I wanted to share that with you, and let's stand and do the arati now.